Hello and welcome to the second ever Coronavirus Lockdown Livestream. I am joined by JW Survey team members who are awake and conscious and coherent at this particular time, thanks largely due to the fact that they are in Australia. So we have Kim, Silvio, and Sasha D'Souza. Welcome, Kim and Sasha.
Hey guys.
Hi guys.
How are you?
So obviously, the purpose of not bad. You froze just for a moment there. Maybe it was just me. Famously sporadic Wi-Fi in Australia, viewers. You should know. But yeah, just to recap, the purpose of this live stream is obviously due to the current world situation, and my feeling is that, you know, if people are feeling isolated, if people are feeling alone due to current situations, this is a good opportunity for me to use a time of the day when I'm not usually doing a great deal to just jump online and take a few comments and help people feel a little bit less alone. So don't know whether you're on board with that, guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that gives, sense of community and makes us all realize we're not in this alone. It's a great idea.
Indeed. I understand Sasha has actually composed a poem which he will be reading later on, just to give comfort and solace. Dropped him in there a little bit.
We're in this together. Do not fret. The end will come, but it is not yet. Is that good enough?
Anyway, so moving swiftly on, we have a number of comments already on the board from Facebook and Twitch. So just to kind of briefly recap, I am in YouTube exile when it comes to my live streaming capability, and my workaround is to stream via Facebook and Twitch and then upload the finished thing to YouTube. So let's see here. Ignacio says, how is everyone doing? That's very thoughtful of you to ask, Ignacio. I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Kim?
Doing well. We don't have toilet paper, but we still have coffee, so we're fine.
You don't have toilet paper? Good grief.
No. I went to my sister-in-law's house and stole toilet paper.
Shocking. What's your TP situation, Sasha, if you don't mind me asking? Incredibly personal question under ordinary circumstances.
We have plenty of boxes of tissues, so we'll be
you're down to a few seconds worth of supplies in the D'Souza family, it seems.
As the famous line from Seinfeld, what was it? We haven't got a square to spare, the Elaine line.
You're down to.
I know where you live, Sasha. I'm coming to get it.
Is it 2 or 3 ply, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, it's down to the single ply garbage. That's all that's left.
Good grief. Good grief. Might as well use your fingers when it's down to a single ply.
Well, Sherry was saying we do have a whole box of old wash towels and weights in the shed. So
indeed. Although I'm going to be honest, and I'm not speaking from experience. Just let me be clear. It's going to chafe, isn't it? If we're being completely honest.
Well, the words chafe. So
the words chafe, and I'm guessing the texture will chafe as well. But desperate times may call for desperate measures. Unica Savica, I'm guessing, live full life in the last day of the last day of the last days. We had that really, as Kim vanishes into a vortex, we did have that very weird wording, didn't we, from Stephen Lett in the coronavirus report, which I don't think is going to age well. Kim's back.
Yeah, you highlighted that well, Lloyd, too. The fact that that he's just gone on record to say that is going to come back and bite him in the backside one day. It really is.
It's going to. I think that footage is going to age so poorly that people will one day be criticized for playing it, especially those particular words.
Maybe it'll be the new generation of stay alive till 75.
Indeed. And Kim has succumbed, it seems, entirely to forces beyond anyone's control. We'll try and get her back as soon as we can. Gabrielle Spedding says, greetings from Montreal. It's 3:30 a.m. here. Gabrielle, thank you so much for tuning in at this unholy hour. You must understand that someone has to take the bullet in terms of the scheduling. And unfortunately, it's a large swathe of the United States and Canada and obviously South America that's having to pay the price. Although I did think about this, Sasha, and even though it's an unsociable hour in large parts of America, maybe not the West Coast, it's still possibly a time when, you know, given the anxious times, there could be people who are awake at this time, maybe because of insomnia or maybe just because of stress or other circumstances. Maybe we can help in some way. That's my thinking.
Yeah, excellent idea, Lloyd. And that's the reality. All of our routines are completely thrown out of whack. Nothing is normal again. The new normal is very different to what we had before. And I'm sure there's a lot of people experiencing stress. There's no doubt about that. If we're honest, we're all experiencing some degree of anxiety.
I'm experiencing anxiety at the thought of Kim disappearing again. But we have her back at least for now. You can't keep a good Kim down. So this is an interesting one. Cuts a little bit close to the bone, but let's field it. Matthew Tino saying, any communication from Lloyd or Sasha's parents since the start of COVID? You can go first, Sasha.
Great question, Matthew. Thank you.
Oh, you've gone quiet, mate.
Oh,
sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, go on.
Are we there? Yep.
No, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question, Matthew. Thank you for asking. Only an hour and a half ago, I actually got a phone call from my father after him refusing to take any phone calls in the last week when I decided to phone and just check in on them. Wouldn't respond to any text messages. I got a phone call from him and he was checking on how we were doing and making sure we were okay. And he was almost normal, except when the conversation went from those matters of... Yeah. But if it was general chit-chat that I tried to take the conversation to, he's kind of shut that down. But I'll take it. Good on him. It's nice that he did what a good, loving father would do and check on your child. That's lovely.
That is good.
Well, it's more than lots of Jehovah's Witness parents shunning their children would get. I haven't had that, so you know, which I suppose answers the question on my side. No, I've not had a single message or phone call, and bear in mind that we had an earthquake.
Yes. So tell us about that.
It's not just a general. Yeah. So it was actually quite hairy, as I mentioned in the video. 6:20 a.m. So you're kind of half asleep still. You're just sort of coming round on a Sunday morning. And the house starts shaking, and it felt like we were at sea, on a rough sea. You know, it was very unpleasant. But obviously, it was over fairly quickly. It would have lasted only, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds, perhaps.
Okay.
But we weren't where the epicenter was. The epicenter was just north of Zagreb, where it caused considerable damage, and there were bits of buildings falling on cars, as you saw in the video. So we consider ourselves very fortunate compared to people who were already in lockdown and already trying to fend off a deadly pathogen. And suddenly they're being forced into the streets, or they're being forced to patch up their homes. So, but you would think that with it being Zagreb, you know, you'd think that there'd be, maybe he's just not heard of it. It wouldn't surprise me if the BBC hasn't been hot on the story, to be honest. I don't think anyone died. There was one teenager in critical condition, but probably if there'd been actual deaths, it would have featured more prominently in the news. But yeah, you just like to think that if something like that were to happen, you'd get at least "Are you okay?" But no, nothing. there we go.
Not
Sorry
even
to hear
your
that.
in-laws, Lloyd?
Yeah, humanity should override anything.
To my what?
else.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's sorry to hear that they wouldn't check in on you. Humanity means they should follow up. Sorry if I lost you.
Yeah, Sasha, you're breaking up a little bit. Yeah, Kim, what was the question? Sorry, Kim.
I just thought he might have checked with your in-laws, given that they're JW, that he could contact
No,
them and
I think we
communicate
would have
that way.
heard. I think we would have heard if he'd have contacted them. Yeah, but to be completely honest, he's not the sort of. He's not normal. My dad's just not normal. I don't think. Even when I was growing up, he didn't have sort of basic interest in his own siblings. You know, he could easily go for years without contacting his siblings. So he's not the. On the one hand, I'm annoyed. On the other hand, I'm remembering that it's dad, and that's what dad's like. You know, he's not operating under normal social parameters. Let's see what more comments we can bring in. Joelle Brown says, I haven't been able to get toilet paper for 3 weeks. Gosh. Now, Joelle, you perplex me because I got the thing through on Facebook saying, mark yourself safe. And I noticed you were marked safe. So does that mean you're in my vicinity? Because the mark yourself safe thing was going around kind of Croatia and Slovenia due to the earthquake. So I'm fascinated to know whether you are in my neck of the woods. So please indicate some way, shape or form if that's the case. Nits Walsh saying, I bought toilet paper on Tuesday. It was the happiest I've ever been to buy toilet paper. Thank you for that, Nits. Lots of toilet paper related comments, it must be said, but you know, it's a basic measure of civilization. It could be said, folks. Everything is fine here with toilet paper and food. Maybe I should skip the toilet paper ones, at least for now. Catalin, nice to see you, Catalin. I haven't seen Catalin for a few years now. I did see him a few times when on my trips to Belgium. Hello from Belgium. Some are quite enjoying the last of the last days here. Catalin's wife makes, actually Catalin as well, makes superb cakes if anyone's interested. If you want the very finest in cakery, he is your man. Okay, so I'm losing my way with all these comments. Lots of comments coming through, and welcome to the 39 of you on the live stream. We seem to be struggling with our connection to Australia, the land down under, but we will try to get Kim back as soon as we can.
So Lloyd, while you're looking through comments there, you were talking about the earthquake.
Yeah.
I have to share, you probably heard there was also an earthquake in Salt Lake City, in Utah.
Yes.
Yeah, quite humorously, those from the ex-Mormon community have said that they found it quite humorous that the angel Moroni that stands on top of the temple there in the middle of Salt Lake City that usually holds up the trumpet fell and the angel Moroni lost his footing. And so there's quite a few ex-Mormons who are trying to say that might be a nice sign of the last days, that maybe Jesus has taken his blessing away from the church.
It's funny, but at the same time, there's a certain logic to it, isn't there? Because you would think, that if anything is going to be, if God is behind the Mormon church, if anything's going to be exempt from an earthquake, it's a statue of that kind, you know? So whenever, and a similar thing happened in Zagreb, of course, with Zagreb Cathedral losing the tip of one of its two spires. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's ironic, you could say. Christine Bufford says, anyone notice Stephen Lett praised the efforts of the brothers initially and then gave his condolences second? Yeah, I think Christine's talking about his response to the disaster in Italy, which claimed according to the broadcast 6. I'm sure that number will have gone up since then. And his initial thought was to praise the effort and the attitude of the brothers, and the condolences over the deaths was almost an afterthought, wasn't it? But it was strange. I think the whole thing, Kim and Sasha, it was very staged and artificial and forced, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Kim. I think you'd agree. Like, it was embarrassing for them, because it actually showed the heartlessness of the leadership. It was more about the stats and how it looked for them rather than the individuals. And so, it didn't really show a great deal of Christ-like love that you would expect them to display.
Kim, are you able to hear us? Can we hear you?
I just find it really bad that...
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that I just found it unbelievable, and the point that he was almost salivating over the fact that, that soon the last day would be here, and everybody knows what that means. And the point in the video, Lloyd, really resonated with me. I thought, part of that, if everyone does the what if, what if we got wrong? What if, I'm happy with my decision.
Yeah. Yeah, even if they're right, I don't want anything to do with their idea of a final solution. Won't have anything to do with it, thank you. Not for me. Don't want to participate in covering up a genocide and praising the perpetrator of it for eternity. Gabriel, indeed. Gabriel saying, I was laid off from my job last week and do not dare to look for another job as many stores and industries are closed. Let's talk about that for a moment, because obviously, my work was already from home, so not a lot has changed. I mean, it could change, I suppose, in some form or other, but I feel fairly insulated from all of this. Sasha, I know you work from home, but presumably you're feeling a pinch in terms of maybe demand from customers. If you're not self-employed and you're actually employed, and your business is kind of completely closing down, at least temporarily, these must be especially anxious times.
Yeah, we really feel for those who have been affected. It's the scope on the worldwide economy is going to be something we've never seen before. I know every government is putting into place measures that will basically take their economies into recession or possibly depression just to get by with short-term monetary stimulus packages. But it's going to be a long road out of it. It's good to see, though, on a positive note, that humans are valuing life over economy, that obviously human life needs to be taken care of first, and then we can worry about the economy or the economic situation afterwards. But for every individual, Gabrielle, we're sorry, we feel it, we genuinely feel it. I know that every one of us will have to take some very, very stringent measures just to get by financially.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Yeah, so I'm interested to hear any other thoughts along those lines. How are you coping? What's the situation with employment? If you feel the need to share anxiety or uncertainty, please feel free to. Perhaps now's a good time to mention that I want to make this as interactive as possible, and I'm fairly limited when it comes to comments. Obviously, it's nice to read the comments, but perhaps they don't always reflect the emotion and that kind of thing. So one thing I was thinking was, if you want to send in, let me just create a quick banner. If you want to send in a voicemail that we can play on the show with a question, this is the address to use. Let me just bring that up. Yeah, so that's the address to use for a voicemail, and we'll play your voicemail on a future live stream. You get 5 minutes on SpeakPipe, but if you could kind of keep it to the sort of 1 or 2 minute mark, it will make it much easier for us to get through potentially a few of them. And we also have, with the SpeakPipe platform, a potential to play video messages. So if you want to send in a video message, we'll play that. But with the video message, you only get 30 seconds. So you'll have to be quite disciplined. But if you want to appear on a future Coronavirus Lockdown Livestream in person, you can do for 30 seconds. Just send a video through. I'm going to give you an address to send it to.
I think you're going to get stitched up here, Sasha. He's going to give your email.
No, I'm giving my own, actually. I probably shouldn't, but here's one of my email addresses. Please don't abuse it. But if you want to upload it to Google Drive, that's the address that you would put into Google Drive to share it to me. Alternatively, maybe with it being only 30 seconds, you could just send me the file straight away. But if I get some video messages through, I will play them in future lockdown live streams. So maybe a good opportunity as well, just to, again, bring us all together.
And anyone that wants to do a video, I've got to do a call out. Bring up your creative toilet jokes, like toilet paper alternatives. In Australia, we're using photographs of gum leaves and all sorts of things, It just keeps, humour keeps it a little bit sane. So I'd love to see that.
Malermis saying, greetings from Denmark. Can't stay for long, though, as I'm off to work at the pharmacy, keeping the country going. Good for you, Malermis. Good for you. Definitely, a pharmacy is a very crucial part of the infrastructure in times of pandemic. So thank you for that. So Joelle Brown saying, in answer to my earlier question, I have no idea why I was marked safe there. I'm here. I don't know where here is. I'm not asking where here is. I just found it odd when I saw your name pop up as safe. So probably there was a glitch in the Facebook algorithm. But immediately I was thinking, I've got... Sasha's saying he can't hear us both. I'm going to have to blame it on your internet.
Australian internet, Sasha.
It's Aussie Wi-Fi. I was surprised, viewers. I was surprised, viewers, when I went to Australia in June, and you just think Australia is going to be up there in terms of technical ability, and their Wi-Fi is terrible. If you want a reliable signal, you have to use your phone's data. That's probably how Kim's doing it now. So,
great. I'm on my phone, my data.
Right, I keep losing my... Oh, there's a nice one from Joelle. Kim looks gorgeous. There you go.
Oh, thanks, Joelle.
And we have Javier. Before Kim's head explodes, here's a message from friend of the channel, Javier Ortiz. Hey, Kim, didn't recognize you at first. New hairstyle. So, yes, Kim getting lots of attention over her hair.
Yes, straight out of the shower, not done. Doesn't matter. Thanks, Javier. That's nice.
He also says, Stephen Lett, forced and artificial. How dare you? So, yeah.
I call it as it is.
D. Jeffrey saying hi, ticking off the plagues and pestilences. Let's just see here. Matthew Tino. Let's just add Sasha again. Nice beard, Sasha. I'm growing out my Joe Dirt style beard now. Stupid redneck jeans.
Oh, I can hear you again, Kim.
Yay!
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you for that whole call. My apologies. I don't know why.
That's all right.
I agree. The new hairstyle looks really good.
Thank you.
Let me just let's just see
out of the
here.
shower. Oh.
Your
Simon,
hairstyle's not bad either, Lloyd.
thank you, Sasha.
Looking good there.
That's very kind of you. I'll have you on the show again. I'll have you on the show again.
Particularly elder-like.
Notice how there's not even a rough time scale to how long the last days of the last days might last. It's almost like they know. Almost like they realize they're speaking nonsense and totally stabbing in the dark, just hoping that they're... And I think, do you not feel as well, folks, that doubling down on that sort of rhetoric in a way indicates the delusion of the leaders? And this is something I've been saying for a while now, that it's not purely cynical. I'm sure to some degree it is cynical because they have unprecedented access to the full scope of the corruption of the organization. But at the same time, there's a strong hint in their rhetoric that at least to some degree they do buy into their own BS.
I'd agree. No?
Kim's not convinced.
No. No. Come on.
So do you think Kim, do you think that they don't believe it, or do you... What's your thoughts?
I'm so confused about it, but here's what I think. I cannot understand how they cannot know that they're talking... Can I swear?
No. Go on.
They're talking shit, all right?
Lloyd will get banned from another platform.
Lloyd will get banned from another effing platform. I'm not going to police the occasional F-bomb. But yeah.
I don't F-bomb, but I S-bomb a lot.
Yeah.
No, look, surely, come on. They put out videos. Let's talk about the classic example of the selling off of the Kingdom Halls. In one breath, they're saying, there's a video, we've seen it. They're saying, we're doing this for this reason. In another video is simultaneously issued. They're talking and they are literally saying completely the opposite thing. I don't understand how anybody in their right mind could possibly justify that, or cognitive dissonance. You can call it whatever you want. That doesn't, no.
But do you not accept that the human mind is a complicated thing? Cognitive dissonance explains this to us, that you can have competing ideas going on in your mind.
But that's not a competing idea. It's not a competing belief, Lloyd. That's a business. Any CEO of a company or leadership of a company, they know when they've got political spin on and when they're talking in a boardroom. Like, it's just as simple as that for me.
Okay.
Well, I guess, Kim, you've come from a background, or you're in a background, in a legal background. You mix with people in corporate world and business world. You know when somebody is, you have a gut feeling about whether somebody believes what they're saying or not. So, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, look,
I still think it's a bit more nuanced, but I know that, Kim, you will be speaking for lots of people who are watching this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should take a vote. Is Kim right, or is everybody else?
I don't think
place your bets
both.
now.
Vote one Kim.
We should ask StreamYard to let us do votes. That would be very useful. Xavier, who is stalking us apparently without even though he has the capability, by the way, of coming on if he wants. He has the link. The whole JW survey chat group on WhatsApp has this link, but for some reason Javier is stalking us rather than just coming on. There we go. But he's saying
he thinks he's COVID fade.
He's pretending to be COVID fade. Hang in there, Gabrielle. Tough times ahead, but we're resilient. Solidarity there from Javier for Gabrielle. And Gabrielle says, Lloyd, will you do this every day? I'm glad you asked that question. So the way I'm selling this is it's going to be every day apart from when it's not every day. So if I'm not on air one morning, I'll probably be on the next morning, but I don't want to absolutely promise that I'm going to do it every day, because who knows what might come up. I've got to think about my family in these times, and it might be that, for example, one morning we need to go to the pharmacy or something. I don't know, but if I'm around and if I'm available, I will be doing this. So every day-ish is how we're marketing it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And obviously, every morning when I do it, shortly before going online, I'm going to be posting a link to join the live stream on. We have a JW survey, Truth About the Truth WhatsApp group. So any available team members will jump on, and in this case, we have the privilege of having Sasha and Kim with us.
So, Lloyd,
Without dodgy Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Thanks, Australia. Can I just take a moment while you're looking for the next comment?
Sure. Just
to let everyone know that we're a little bit behind with some of our emails. We see the emails that come through the JW survey, and we try our very best to get to every single one of them. But just want to let everybody know, particularly if you're going through rough times at the moment, feel free to reach out to us. We, as a team, we can make sure that somebody is there to reply and just hear how things are going, read your story. So please don't feel like you've been neglected or forgotten. We've just literally been snowed under and had a few technical issues to catch up on with our computers, but we will get to you.
Yeah, and just to emphasize that the address for if you are in need of some kind of support, if you're feeling anxious, this is the email address to use. Again, we're a small team, so we can't always respond to everything. So please give us lashings of patience. But if you do absolutely feel the need to contact the JW survey team, that's the address to use. Okay, so there's currently 40 on the live stream. Javier again stalking us. My wife traded a box of produce for a pack of toilet paper yesterday. That's where we are in a box of produce for a pack of toilet.
What was the produce, Harvey?
Well, yeah, is this produce in inverted commas of this? But isn't this? Can we just talk about the toilet? I mean, all joking aside, what is it with toilet paper? I mean, in times of apocalypse, you can't eat the stuff. There's no rhyme or reason to it, is there?
No. I reckon it's very much that human condition where one person does it, two people do it, and suddenly everybody's looking in that same direction, and then suddenly we've seen it here, as no doubt everybody has around the world, but it's almost like then the next person realized maybe we should buy pasta, and that became the thing that was, and then rice, and then flour, and then paracetamol off the medicine shelf, and there's no rhyme or reason as to what it is that's the flavor of the week that everybody has to go in craze over. Have you noticed that around the world?
We seem to have goaded him directly onto the show, so that my little bit of prodding there seems to have worked. Welcome, Javier.
He can't hear us.
Oh,
this is
good. Are you there, mate?
Ignoring us.
I can hear you.
Good.
I can hear you now.
All right.
Yeah.
Stop talking about him, Kim.
So tell us all about this produce that was traded for toilet paper.
Listen, Evan, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Okay. Sometimes you do what is required. You're not always proud of it, but it's got to get done.
So exactly how many bound volumes did you get through before you got to that point of desperation?
Unfortunately, I don't have any bound volumes anymore, but that would have been a perfect remedy for my situation.
There's going to be the pages themselves, then utter desperation is the covers, and that's really going to chafe,
Well, and then the boxes that they came in. I mean,
those plastic boxes for individual copies. Oh, dear. Good grief. We're going to give people nightmares at this point. This isn't what this live stream's all about. What are you doing?
Yes, we're supposed to be encouraging.
So,
did you guys hear all the licensed premises in Australia have been closed? So you can't go to the pub anymore. You can't go to the casino. You can't do anything.
Yeah, but you guys were on Bondi Beach when other countries were in lockdown. What's all that about?
Well, that was appalling.
It's closed. It's closed.
It's closed now. You've seen to it, Kim. Kim's been on the case.
Yeah, on the case. Sorted it.
So Javier, all jokes aside, because obviously we had an introduction for Sasha and Kim. What's your intro? What's going on with you at the moment?
Nothing, just hunkering down. I think everybody's got a little bit of cabin fever. The girls have been home all week from school. My wife started working from home about midway this week, and then I'm going into the office 2 days starting tomorrow, and I think it's going to be 100% working from home after that. So
wow.
But I mean, we've been able to go for walks and take the dogs to the park and just to get some fresh air. But yeah, we're in the same situation as everybody else.
And we were talking before about sort of anxiety over employment. I think Kim's retired as a lawyer. I think, but you do have a job. I think Sasha works for himself. I'm obviously working from home. You're employed. Is there any kind of anxiety over the current economic situation and possibility of being unemployed?
I mean that it's always a possibility, right? The company that I work for, they're in auto finance, and nobody's buying cars right now. So I don't know what the next couple of weeks or months are going to look like, but we just gotta roll with it, man.
Indeed.
So if I do lose my job, then I'll be able to do some more of this stuff with you guys.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You'll go from stalking us to being a full-time presenter. So there we go. Perhaps now would be a good opportunity for you to give an update on the truth about the truth, since I keep being asked about that, and obviously you know more about it than I do.
Well, Sasha's wife Sherry is giving us a hand with the transcription, so she's been busy transcribing all of the footage that we have. We were supposed to be in London with Lloyd and I, and the team was supposed to be in London for the 18th of March, but obviously that's postponed. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll see what happens. We might still make that trip to the UK for the ICSA hearing. But in the meantime, we're in post-production. So what we're doing right now is we're taking the transcriptions from Sherry, and we're starting to parse the interviews and source the footage from them, so we can start editing what they call an A-roll, and then from that we build the production, right? What it'll be. So it'll be episodes of a series, and we'll start putting that together.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm personally very keen for it to be a series rather than, because we've just got so much footage, and I want to leave out as little as possible. Joelle saying, meanwhile, Lloyd slurps his vitamins. I'm down to the final dregs of my vitamin drink. But, this is important health advice, I think. While we're doing an apocalyptic live stream, take your vitamins. Keep your immune system firing on all cylinders. Maybe you'll end up with luscious beard growth that we see there with both Javier and Sasha. Not so much.
I take my vitamins all the time. It's a vitamin Macallan's 12. Have you guys ever heard that one?
Yeah,
a good friend of ours likes that.
Yeah. Mark Pixley saying, shout out from Falkirk, Scotland. Hi there, Mark.
Hey.
And I have noticed Rianne as well. Nice to see you there, Rianne. Rianne and I chat a bit on Twitter. I don't know what that probably you're responding to someone there, but in any case, I wanted to show you a comment because it's nice to see you on the live stream, Rianne. Question here from David Morgan. Lloyd, do you worry the Watchtower could issue further copyright strikes in order to try to take down your channel, even if they are illegitimate? We know how shady Mr. Polidoro is. I think that the Gilead thing was a one-off. I mean, in fairness, I was on quite dubious ground there. I'm not saying that I was necessarily... I still think it was fair use, but it's one of those situations where you're right on the periphery of what the law allows you to do. So they they took their opportunity well. I'll credit them with that. And it's just one of those things where I have to learn from it, unfortunately. But hopefully I've found a workaround which involves streaming on Facebook and then uploading to YouTube. It's not ideal, but it's going to have to do. Christine
It's
Buford.
fantastic, though.
Sorry, Kim, go on.
I was just saying how fantastic it was that they actually monitor you. Like, you're obviously a threat to them. I love that.
Yeah, that was actually quite interesting to know that they're monitoring the channel so closely. That is interesting.
I'm going to put it out there on the universe for you, Lloyd. There has to be at least one person monitoring your channel, and just think of it this way: in a couple of years, that person may be a guest on your channel one day.
Well, that's the weird thing, though, Javier, because how would that even work if you're monitoring on a regular basis material that completely debunks the organization that is literally the source of your food and shelter? What's that going to do with your head? That's always been my reason for refuting the idea of there being a department that monitors apostate content. But increasingly with this whole subpoena warfare thing, I'm seeing evidence contradicting that, implying that there is, in fact, some degree of monitoring going on. I just don't know how it would work in practice. So I'm fascinated if we can, in the future, interview someone who's involved in this personally. I'd love to know what the mechanics are and how it actually works, kind of on a cognitive level.
I'm calling it. It's going to happen.
Right. Okay.
It's got to.
Okay.
And I would say, in line with that, we've had people reach out to us who have been either had a life story written about them in magazines, or they were extras in some of the video productions. So these ones are starting to wake up. And of course, with the more videos that the society continues to produce, the likelihood of somebody waking up and giving us an inside scoop as to how things take place or what the procedures are behind closed doors, it'll happen. Yeah. I agree with you, Harvey. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so.
Question here from Christine Buford. Does JW Survey have the resources to help someone who has never been a JW but whose life has been negatively impacted by first-generation Jehovah's Witness twin sister? Look, we don't discriminate when it comes to how people have been impacted. You don't have to be kind of a card-carrying ex-Jehovah's Witness to have been impacted by this group. So if we can help, we certainly will. Just bear in mind that none of us are trained mental health professionals. Most of what we do is just pointing you in the direction of resources that you may find helpful. We just feel that, I mean, we're seeing increasingly with the sort of exodus from the organization that there's a need for aftercare, and there's a need for, you know, people are saying, what do I do next? What do I do? And that's what we're trying to do. That's what Sasha's trying to do in his role. And Rachel Hartley says, Sasha, you were so helpful to me a little while ago when I messaged JW Survey. You are all such a precious resource for us. Thank you for being there and for smiling us through this. That's very kind of you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Means a lot.
You know, the way that we look at this too, Rachel and the rest of our team, we genuinely look at this as a team effort. And if something that one of us or many of us is able to do, and then it helps you, Rachel, you're then in a position to help other people, and the snowball continues to grow. And we genuinely believe that one little bit of support that we can offer might then equip the next person to offer more support, who equips the next person. It's a team effort. We're all in this together.
Yeah. And just particularly with the previous comment, Lloyd and Sasha and Javier, that Christine, if she contacts Survey, I'm more than happy to help her. You know, given my circumstances, I can definitely help with some ideas for her. Definitely.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
So again, address to use is support@jwsurvey.org. Christine, if you want to address your message to Kim directly, she will get back to you. On another note entirely, we have a Twitch comment from Nitz Walsh. You can eat toilet paper with the right sauce. I suppose this might be an interesting spin-off for the coronavirus lockdown live stream, recipe suggestions for toilet paper.
Great.
How to utilize
Yeah.
this product if you have overbought. Gosh, how do you?
That sounds like a jailhouse recipe, and I have some questions for Nick.
And also, Javier is giving you dagger looks right now, given the short supply in his own household. He has toilet paper envy right now. Let's just see here. Scrolling through the comments, currently 43 on the live stream. And again, we are broadcasting out on Facebook and Twitch. So if Facebook scares you, if Zuckerberg's approach to privacy intimidates you in any way, Twitch might be a better option. It's just literally you log on to twitch.tv/Lloyd Evans and you can follow along with the live stream and comment. Christine saying, I will reach out to Kim then. Thank you very much. So that's nice.
Not a problem. Look forward to hearing from you, Christine.
And Rianne saying, you're a world of information. JW Survey was our lifeline just for the information. Thank you, Rianne. It has, if I'm being completely honest, we're not as dense with information now on JW Survey. I think we've had to kind of adapt our team to what we're doing. I mean, in my own case, I'm making videos now rather than writing articles. When I first founded JW Survey in October 2011, and that's something I was saying, I think, in the last live stream, that next year will be my 10-year anniversary of activism, because I set it up in October 2011. I was doing more blog articles and not doing any videos, and now it's gone almost the other way. Mark tries to put out articles when there is an important development with child abuse lawsuits mostly, although we do occasionally do other subjects. I think mostly it's kind of almost morphed into like a JW Facts style resource where the information on multiple areas of inquiry is there if people need it. Would that be fair, guys?
Yeah, definitely. We'll continue to keep up with the most important thing, which was the survey itself. That you implemented in those early days. And just to give you an update on that, Sherry is most of the way through compiling some of the stats and writing up an article for the 2018 survey. Then the 2019, of course, will be completed. There's some very interesting little facts and figures, so stay tuned for that. She's had to just finalize a few extra details before that can go live, but that'll be up in the next couple of months. But yeah, definitely, I think that survey has its part to play. If people go to survey and they look down the list to the side, they can see there's a lot of archived articles and reports, information, and then links to excellent other sites. You mentioned JW Facts. Of course, Paul's got another new site, jw.support. So we kind of, I guess the site's become maybe a funnel or a bit of a resource hub to help direct people to other great resources that are out there online as well.
Indeed. I'm not saying that we've stopped putting out new content, by the way. It's just I'm thinking about ways that we can maybe move more in the direction of, with the Friendly Atheist, they have just these very short articles. I'd like us to kind of move gradually into that direction, but that's maybe something for us to discuss as a team at some point.
And a shout out to Hammett too. Thanks for putting my little video on there. That was great the other day.
Oh, did he put you on the Friendly Atheist?
Yeah. I just sent him that little excerpt of the last of the last of the last days.
Oh, I
before the
see.
final
Right.
day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
That was nice of him to put that up for everybody else to have a laugh at.
Gabrielle commenting on what we were saying before about the extent to which Watchtower might be monitoring this channel and other resources. The governing body says to not listen or read apostate material, but yet they are doing it. Ryan Brooks saying, you're going to wake up someone at Bethel. I think that's what Javier was saying. And Mario Hyder saying, I'm quite sure that they have external people to observe what apostates do. They wouldn't watch those things themselves as they could be dragged away. Surely they have some external IT guys working for them. That's an interesting theory. Obviously, we have no way of knowing, but that's at least one way, I suppose, that they could keep tabs on what's happening. But that would be a weird job description to respond to, wouldn't it? Monitor some religions' critics. Not a strange thing to put a call out for, isn't it?
Yeah, I know we know that they have their own there are Bethelites that handle most of their IT infrastructure, and it's possible, I guess, that they might have like a third party watching for copyright infringement online and things like that, monitoring certain channels. But I mean, even that would be interesting. We could get confirmation on that.
Yes, Deanna, I do want a smoothie. So
I do too, Deanna.
Comment publicly. I love Deanna when she says, Lloyd's interviewing her, she walks over and she goes, "What?" I loved it.
Yeah, she's great. She's fantastic. And this is a recurring theme because in the first lockdown, she said, "Do you want a coffee?" And now she's offering me a smoothie. It'd be interesting to see how many different things she can offer me. But yeah, thank you very much, Deanna. I would very much appreciate a smoothie, and maybe you can briefly appear on camera. Who knows?
Yay.
She won't like that, by the way.
Yeah, but she has to come.
What's that? Sorry, Kim?
She has to come and say hello to me. Please.
Okay.
Please, Diana.
And Ryan Brooks saying, "Hi, Lloyd. Do you think one day you might do a video in which you try your hand at street epistemology, maybe a collaboration with Anthony Magnabosco?" I have done. Well, here's the thing. I have done street epistemology before. There's obviously that video that I did with Xavier at Disneyland, which is actually one of my most viewed videos. Good grief, there's a lot of noise there. Where's that coming from? That scratching noise. I have done it before. It's just that my approach and Anthony's approach are slightly at odds, and we've actually talked about this. We had a car journey when I was last in Texas because Anthony, I had the pleasure of spending a few hours with Anthony. There's that noise again. Good grief. Scratching noise. I think my... Oh, no, it's not my smoothie. Someone walked past the door and I thought it might be my smoothie. Anyway, I have a slightly different approach to Anthony. If you watch Anthony's videos, I can't remember what his channel's called. Maybe it's called Anthony Magnabosco. I don't know. But he takes a very methodical approach to street epistemology, and it's very consent-based. So do you consent to having a conversation? Our conversation will be this many minutes long. Are you available? And all that. He has like a checkboard that he goes through. And I've explained to him that when it comes to speaking to believing Jehovah's Witnesses, which I'm to be completely honest, is what I'm most interested in doing, they're not going to consent to being on camera. They're just not. So even though could say that my Disneyland video is street epistemology, it's not street epistemology the way Anthony practices it, but he's fine with the way I did it. He's just saying that's not how he'd do it. So I do. Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna say, Lloyd, that what you just described, we've tried that.
Yeah.
We tried that with I believe it was with Cliff in the Santa Monica area. We tried several approaches. We tried kind of the same way we did it at Disneyland, and then we tried it where we were straight up. We approached a cart in Santa Monica and we said, "Hey, we're filmmakers. Would you care to answer some questions on camera?" And it was not a pleasant experience.
No. Well, of course they're not going to want to go on camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's if you're doing street epistemology sort of in the orthodox way, it's all consent based and it's all about, yes, I agree to go on camera for this many minutes. So clearly that approach is just not going to fly with 95% of Jehovah's Witnesses, shall we say. So my approach is kind of almost like an adaptation, almost like a spin-off of street epistemology. And I do it when I can. It's just that obviously I live in Croatia, a non-English speaking country. And so my opportunities are limited. Here's my smoothie. Smoothie has arrived. Are you not going to go on camera? Jessica, do you want to come on camera?
Yeah, but say hi to everybody and say to him I love him.
Come on here.
Come on, Diana.
So here's Jessica.
Hey, Jessica.
So Jessica obviously is our resident expert on the coronavirus. Jessica, I know you've been following the coronavirus quite keenly. Do you have any advice for the viewers?
Well, we could stay inside.
Very good advice.
And we could wear masks.
Wear masks, yeah. You see, leading advice here on the John Cedars channel from our resident expert. Do you have anything else to say to the people?
I love my sister.
Oh, and you're looking at your sister right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
What happened yesterday?
Well, there was an earthquake.
There was an earthquake, but you were asleep, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
But what happened after the earthquake?
Then everything fell.
Everything fell. But what did we do? Do you remember what happened yesterday? It was a big day yesterday, wasn't it?
It was Julia's birthday.
It was. And did you help Julia open her presents very enthusiastically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jessica was the official present tester yesterday. So
It was her first birthday, and also she's 1 year old. That's a woohoo!
it's a woohoo, yeah. So thank you for
She's adorable.
She's amazing.
Hi, bye, Jessica. Hi.
Javier says hi.
Lloyd, I really want to ask you what's Daddy's name.
Hey, Jessica, when you
Hang on
come
a
back,
moment.
we're going to Disneyland, right?
Say that again, Javier.
Jessica, are we going to Disneyland when you come back to California?
Yeah.
Hi, Jessica. It's Kim from Australia.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me.
I
what's
realise at
Daddy's
this
name?
point that she's going to take my job. What's that, sorry?
We go. Come on, let's go.
Okay, enjoy your smoothie, sweetheart.
I will. Hello to everybody and say to Kim sorry for not appearing.
Did you hear that, Kim?
I love her very much.
Deanne's saying, I love you very much, and I'm sorry for not appearing, but she sends her love
Because I'm in my.
because she's in her pajamas and her dressing gown. She doesn't want to appear.
We must try these smoothies.
What's in the smoothie, Deanna? Toilet paper.
Yes, toilet paper with a bit of hand sanitizer.
Toilet paper and hand sanitizer, apparently, and a bit of pink.
My favorite. My
food
favorite.
colouring. Mm. Thank you very much.
Well, listen, guys, I'm gonna hop off because it's 1:30 a.m. over here, so
Get some sleep, dude.
Some shut eye. But
Get some sleep.
it's always fun to connect with you guys, and we'll talk soon.
We will. Take care, mate. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a good night.
Stay safe. And then there were two.
Yes, and I apologise. I dropped off there because, my phone died. My apologies.
So
Very professional.
hopefully we'll get Kim back at some point. I think again it's just down to the Aussie Wi-Fi. Unica saying looks like strawberry. I think actually it's I think it might be raspberry actually.
You're getting well
Very nice.
done.
Raspberry and I'm going to go with raspberry and banana. And Kim's back. Yeah, so Rianne's saying Jessica is the expert. She is. Every time I call on her for prescient advice on how to deal with the coronavirus, she delivers, without fail. So she's definitely got a job for life in that respect, or at least until the coronavirus is no longer a pressing issue. Okay. So James saying, Lloyd, I'm glad you mentioned this to Anthony. I unsuccessfully tried to get him to understand years ago that Jehovah's Witnesses needed a different approach. Yeah, I think he does understand, but I kind of as well understand him. I want him to keep things. I think he's onto a winning formula. He's pursuing the science of conversations. He's not really interested in necessarily exposing the way Jehovah's Witnesses think, which is kind of where I'm coming from. So I don't want to contaminate his process, if that makes sense. I want him to continue with the winning formula. I think I really admire though the fact that he's understanding of the fact that I'm kind of doing a slightly modified version when I speak to Jehovah's Witnesses, i.e., minus the consent. But as respectful as possible, which is what it's all about. It's not cart crashing, it's having a conversation. David Morgan saying Jessica is already giving better advice than most of the clowns on Twitter. Very good point, yeah. We've raised her well. So there's... Okay, that's an interesting comment. Let me see if I can back up a little bit, because there seems to be 2 comments. There's one from Simon. Simon's not very well, it seems. Right, Simon, I can't find your original comment, but you say here, not sure, I might have it, but as I'm not in hospital, I can't get tested. So it could be just a cold. Definitely had contact with people who have had contact with people, so I'm quarantining myself just in case. Something tells me it's going to be a recurring thing. Very sorry to hear that, Simon. Anxious times, I think, for everyone. And if you are starting to feel that you have symptoms, follow the local advice, really, and try and get whatever help you can. This is really a horrendous illness. I mean, maybe we can talk for a little bit about what people can expect. So obviously none of us are doctors, but so we're dealing with temperatures, aren't we? We're dealing with coughing. I think temperatures and coughing are the main things. There's also, I'm just going to temporarily mute. There's a loud clanging noise. So there's coughing, there's temperatures, in some cases there's a headache, and there's difficulty breathing. Would that be a fair way of summarizing the symptoms? We've lost audio for both Sasha and Kim, unfortunately.
I can hear you, Kim. Have you got me, Lloyd?
I can hear you now, Sasha.
Okay. Sorry, Kim, I couldn't hear what you were saying either. I can try lip reading, if you like. From my understanding, just by looking at the Australian government health site, which is fairly comprehensive, tightness of breathing, and I noticed that the terrible footage coming out of Italy, they have the patients who are suffering having to lay on their stomach so that it's less resistance against the lungs as it tries to breathe. So, yeah, we're dealing with something that is terrible, a respiratory illness.
Yeah, very, very disturbing. And again, I guess it's just a case of, gosh, there's that clanging noise again. I guess it's just a case of, again, following the local advice, the local government advice. And to some degree, as I said in my video, one of my latest videos, we can give at least some credit to the organization. They could have taken a very irresponsible approach of saying, look, worship of Jehovah comes first, we're continuing as normal. It seems that they are at least putting things in the hands of Caesar when it comes to deciding whether meetings take place or not.
Yeah, and full credit to them for that. And really, they're doing as they should do. Kim, are you leaving us?
I'm going to have to sign out till next episode. My internet is fried. Oh, sorry about that, Kim. Thank you anyway. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for trying to make it work. and we've enjoyed your insights. Hopefully next time it will be more seamless. And then there were two, and still just over 30 people watching on the live stream. But yeah, I'm glad, especially since we're living with believing Jehovah's Witnesses who are, you could say, at risk. Deanna and I have been very, very anxious about the possibility of them being asked to go to the Kingdom Hall for the memorial and that kind of thing. Obviously, I would like there to be more consistency in Watchtower listening to Caesar in other areas.
Yeah.
But at least they're not putting lives at risk in this area.
That's right. Those superior authorities are supposedly put there for their benefit, but it tends to be a bit of an a la carte pick and choose as to when they will obey those authorities or not, and that's disturbing. But look, let's, as you said in the other videos, let's give them credit for what they are doing. At least there's a duty of care to take care of their members who are attending the memorial and the meetings. Yeah, I'll give them credit for that.
So David Morgan saying, please don't retire before you hit 144,000 subscribers. Gosh. Well, yeah. I think I talked a little bit about this in the last episode. I won't repeat myself too much. I'm just getting to the point where I'm mindful of the fact that I can't do this forever, and maybe I shouldn't want to do this forever. It will be a decade next year. Do I want it to become 2 decades or 3 decades? Probably not. So, but even when I'm not doing this full time, which won't be for another few years at least, I'll still have a hand in things. I'll still pop up from time to time like a bad smell.
You make that there has to be that balance. As many of us who have navigated this path from leaving the organisation and becoming ex-witnesses, there's a nice expression that some have said that it helps to become an ex-witness sometimes too. So there needs to be a balance, and the work that you do is pivotal to helping a lot of people. But you've got to live your life too. So yeah, there needs to be a balance there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, for now, I'm completely happy with what I'm doing and feel very privileged to do what I'm doing. But I just realised that there's a shelf life, perhaps. Kay Routley says, sounds like Watchtower trying to get in the bunker. I have no idea what's going on there, to be honest. Where that noise is coming from.
I'll blame it on Australia's internet. I couldn't hear it at this end, so it's probably my phone or my device. Sorry,
yeah,
Dave.
it's like a flicking noise almost, a tapping flicking noise. Let me see if it's at your. I've muted Sasha's microphone just to see if that kills it. Yeah, it seems to be coming from. I'm so sorry, Sasha. It's coming from you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute. If you could mute yourself, that's it. If you mute yourself whenever you're not talking, how's that?
I'll try that.
Yeah. And then that will at least reduce some of the flicking noise.
Is that a bit better now?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
probably still do the muting and unmuting if it's not too much trouble, and then
Sure.
and then we're covering all bases. Fabio Lan on Twitch saying, thought I'd say that some people have a hidden symptoms of the coronavirus, loss of smell. If anyone has this, self-isolate and eat ginger. Gosh, well, I'm not sure ginger is a recommended response to the coronavirus, but certainly follow the government's advice if you're experiencing any symptoms that may be connected to the coronavirus. But yeah, these are anxious times. Simon Instone. Sorry, go on, Sasha.
I was just going to say, if you want some other salient or medical advice, there's some products that the American government had to hastily withdraw from sale. Some of the televangelist scammers have been trying to sell so-called medicinal cures for COVID-19 in the form of what was the silver solution that Jim Baker was trying to sell, and a toothpaste that was
Colloidal
supposed to
silver,
cure
was it?
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. Some of the things that have been trying to be suggested out there.
Yeah, I think I'm not an expert on this, but I think that in America they might have far less stringent rules about what you can and can't say about your medicine. So it is unfortunate how, I mean, if people want to pursue homeopathy, fine. Let's just not call it medicine, especially in the context of a pandemic. You know, there's medicine and there's not medicine. If it's alternative medicine, then by definition, it's not medicine. It's medicine once it's been clinically tested and found to have an effect. And I won't get too diverted on homeopathy, but yeah, it is unfortunate that that's even a consideration at a time like this. Simon saying, don't worry about being effective or ineffective. Just talk to them, ask questions, and the seeds will plant themselves. I agree to some extent. Here's my concern, Simon. My concern when we're talking to witnesses is that, especially when you are emotionally damaged from your Jehovah's Witness experience, my concern is that there's like a knife edge going on where it could tip from wanting to help them to wanting to help you, wanting to vent, wanting to take out your anger. And that's when things could very quickly become non-productive. So when I'm talking about being effective or ineffective, I do think that there's a bad way of doing it and a wrong way of doing it. And that's why I point people in the direction of Anthony Magnabosco, because his approach is all about meaningful conversations. Let's have a meaningful dialogue where, rather than it descending into an argument or people being offended or insulted or the barriers going up, we walk away and we understand each other's position better. That's what street epistemology is all about. It's not about winning a victory. It's about understanding each other better. And obviously, when it comes to an ex-Jehovah's Witness speaking to a believing Jehovah's Witness, we have the advantage of being right. So if they understand our position better because we've approached things in the right way, by default, you could say they have a better chance of a seed being sown and them understanding the situation they find themselves in. Would that be fair, Sasha?
Yeah, absolutely. That's very wise. And I think the important thing is to try and keep the emotions out of it. And it's very hard for all of us, no matter how long we've been out, if we get into a conversation, to not allow the emotions to come into that discussion. If we can try and keep it as a respectful conversation, as Anthony Magnabosco does very effectively, so that it doesn't become a confrontation of people butting heads with the topic, but it's just a discussion, just a conversation between two fellow humans who just want to discuss the topic. So it's kind of attack the topic, not the person. And it can be really hard when emotions get involved because we've all been emotionally affected.
Indeed. Jeff Jackson, I'm assuming it's not the Jeff Jackson, says, outside of COVID-19, what advice would you give Jehovah's Witnesses who realize they are LGBT but are fearful of leaving or admitting such? I think that this is a huge problem. It's actually a problem I'm grateful to not have experienced personally, because I can't think of anything worse, Sasha, than feeling as though you are damned for being who you are. Feeling as though you are existentially at odds with your creator and therefore worthy of destruction. And obviously there's also the concern about being ostracized by your family, being punished for your nature. I actually touched on this in a recent interview video I did with Cheryl and Olivia on my channel. They went through a very similar... Sasha for a moment there. They went through a very similar situation where Olivia had to approach her mother and say, look, you know, I have a girlfriend. And Olivia hit the jackpot with her mother, because her mother was just amazingly understanding, and I think sets a benchmark for how parents should deal with that situation. But in terms of advice, I suppose my advice would not be too much different to my general advice for leaving Jehovah's Witnesses. I've done a video on advice for leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, and much of the advice, if you're in that situation, would apply anyway. But I would just say, above all, don't hate yourself. Don't feel guilty. The feelings that you have are perfectly natural. You have the right to love who you want to love, regardless of their gender. So don't hate yourself. Try to reach out to others in your situation, because you are by no means alone. And hopefully by that group strength and that group solidarity, you'll be able to make it through. Would that be fair, Sasha?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, you know, the biggest thing that the organization tries to do, or in fact any fundamentalist religions do, is they try and take away our self-worth and your dignity, and no one has the right to do that. So absolutely, be confident and have that self-worth and have that dignity. That's the most important thing, because you've got nothing to be ashamed of. Nobody, anything to be ashamed of. We are who we are.
Just scrolling through, lots of comments to scroll through, so thank you to all of you. Just muting Sasha again because there's that noise. I'm wondering, Sasha, whether it might be the headphones wire. It sounds like it's flapping, or it could be the wire. So just check the wire, whether it's loose and flapping or something. That could be what it is. Let's just scroll down some of these comments. Oh, here's a good comment from D Jeffrey. Stripping off my husband and son as they come home from work, both key workers, clothes being washed immediately, thinking of some kind of human sheep dip by the front door. Gosh. But more likely washing up bowl of Dettol for shoes. Wow, D. So key workers, I'm imagining, health workers or police or whatever. I'd love to know more, but sounds like they're providing a very useful service in the community, and I can imagine it being very anxiety-inducing to have this whole issue of disinfecting clothes and equipment when they come home. It's something that, when you're in self-isolation and you're trying to fend off these pathogens, the thought that they could be finding their way into your house because you're involved in some way in helping in the community. Very anxious times, but my hat goes off to your husband and son, definitely.
Yeah.
Are you with us, Sasha?
Absolutely. Thank them very much. I'm here.
Yeah. Good. Jeff Jackson says, no wiping our nose, hand sanitizer. I'm not sure hand sanitizer is good for wiping a nose. What I really need is loo roll, which is upstairs, unfortunately. I'm cut off from the thing that can remedy my immediate situation. Of course, the other thing that could remedy my situation is ending the live stream prematurely, but I'll try and keep going for a short while. And I've lost Sasha temporarily, unfortunately. Hopefully, I've not come down with the dreaded thing. I think it's just a runny nose. Simon says, it's so dangerous because most people will have relatively mild cold or flu-like symptoms, or in some cases none at all, think they're okay, and walk about passing it on to more vulnerable people. Indeed, it's such a disturbing thing. I think Sasha has succumbed finally to poor internet in Australia, but hopefully, I have managed in the past to have obviously Sasha and Sherry on the channel, so probably it's just a bad day in Australia for internet, and hopefully they'll be able to join us again soonish, if not tomorrow, because it is, after all, a daily-ish lockdown live stream. D. Jeffrey saying, you are the top one on here. Humor and balanced. Don't go yet. I'm only 90% complete on being deprogrammed. 90%? That's a very accurate statistic. I'm imagining like a battery gradually filling up. But your own sanity is paramount. Can't you wait until Jessica can take over? I think we're already at that stage, aren't we? Pretty much. Yeah, look, it's not going to happen anytime soon. I'm going to be around for a good few years yet. I've got in my head sort of 15 years. I think 15 years is a fair whack. And that would take us to 2026. But it could be that I get to 2026 and can think of nothing else to do than to carry on. I'm just, the way I feel right now in my life, I mean, I'm 40 and I'm thinking, do I want to be doing this when I'm 50? Do I want to be doing this when I'm 60? Do I want to be doing this when I'm 70? Do you understand? And I think that I can still play a part without doing it full time as I'm doing now. Perhaps in the future I could, for example, put a video out every couple of months, or just put a video out when there's something very, very important to talk about, or focus on writing books. Like, you know, I'm a writer, so I could just put books out, you know, which is obviously something I can do on my own, at my own. Can't think of words. This is the problem with live streaming. I can edit and make it all look flawless when I'm doing normal videos, but I can make it. I can write books at my own pace. That's the word. But again, I'm not. When I'm talking about my retirement, it's not anything that's imminent. It's a few years away at this point. And again, it could be that I get to 2026 or whenever it is and think, actually, I'll do this. I'll just carry on and do it for as long as I feel like it. But like you say, sanity comes first, and we're on this rock for a finite period, aren't we? And I think it's a matter of using that period to the full. I derive enormous satisfaction from using what abilities I have to try and help people. But it's conceivable that at some point I'll derive satisfaction from having amassed this sort of body of work, just taking a step back and doing other things, you know. We'll see, but I'm not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. I'll be around like a bad smell. Kai Routledge saying, have to go, stay safe, everyone. I think I'm going to be going in about 6 or 7 minutes. I'm staying around to the bitter end. I want this to be a 90-minute broadcast. MetaMask on Twitch says, in the US, they are food supplements which are not as regulated at all. Okay, so we were talking before about the way products are branded. So probably if it's a drug, there are far more stringent regulations, but if it's just a food supplement, maybe they can get away with saying all sorts of stuff. So yeah, very disturbing. I don't like the idea of people capitalizing on something like a pandemic to sell products that just aren't going to do anything. That sort of thing definitely needs to be regulated. James Scott says, we're living in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the last days, shortly before the last days of the last days TM. Yeah, I think those words, well, I don't think, I know those words are going to haunt. Probably not Stephen Letts so much, because I don't think he's going to be around for too long. They're going to haunt his successors, certainly. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure those words continue to haunt the organization. David Johnston, sorry, says, it's weird that I live in such a modern age where snake oil is still being sold. What time period am I actually living in? I think various types of snake oil, really. Almost literal snake oil and the ideological version of snake oil as well. Gabrielle saying, it's just us and you, Lloyd. Indeed. You're with me to the bitter end, though, which is very nice to see, Gabrielle. Jeff Jackson saying, keep going, Lloyd. Enjoying this broadcast. Well, that's very nice to hear. And there are, it must be said, 38 still watching. When I'm doing YouTube live streams, we can sometimes, I think, on the very last live stream before we got cut off, was it 480? But I'm equally happy with 35, if I'm honest. And who knows, maybe as the coronavirus lockdown live stream continues, we can amass more following. In fact, if anything, it's easier for me to go through the comments when there are fewer people on the live stream. It's kind of a more, because otherwise the comments are just scrolling continuously and it's really hard to, I've had it before, in fact, where I've clicked on one comment when, let's say there are hundreds commenting on a live chat, and I've clicked on one comment, and literally as I'm going to click on it, it will move and I'll end up showing a completely different comment, which is not the one I wanted to show and sometimes inappropriate. So this is far more easy, far more manageable. Colin Mesher saying, Ryan Giggs and Gary Neville have opened their hotels to NHS workers. What a selfless gesture. I think, yeah, definitely laudable that they've done that. And I just think that in times like this, the normal rules need to go out of the window and we need to find ways of just keeping our fellow humans going and existing. So it's a crisis period, and again, anything that can be done just to make people's lives easier, suspending loans, anything like that really that can just get people through without, because the thing is, it's not just the coronavirus that's a threat, it's also arguably mental health. I mean, you're putting people in this situation where they're under incredible stress. There's an existential risk that they're worried about whether they're going to survive. The last thing they need to be worried about is money. So anything that organizations can do to limit the extent to which people are worried about money it's not just to be applauded. I think it's a requirement almost, you know, for goodness sake. Human life must come first over worrying about stuff and worrying about things and worrying about currency. Gabrielle saying, I love all the work you've done in the bunker. Looks very good and cozy. Thank you. I enjoy the bunker as well. So Alan, hi there. Very big comment. I'm going to try and get through it. Hi, Lloyd. I'm an XJW and I love your work. I deconverted about 10 years ago and I'm starting a project of atheism activism because in my country, Mexico, there are not so many people who do this in Spanish. You and other activists inspired me in Make My Project, and I want to help people in realize that they can be wrong. God is not going to protect anyone from the COVID-19. Alan, definitely admire you for getting involved in activism in Spanish. Definitely do what you can. I think that in the Spanish-speaking world, obviously I don't speak Spanish, but I know that there's a demand. And I also know that from friends of mine like Cliff Henderson, etc., who've who can speak Spanish and who've done videos in Spanish, I know that there's, you could say, a higher rate of religiosity in the Spanish-speaking world. So if Cliff says anything of an atheist nature in his videos, he knows he's going to get pushback. He knows he's going to get far more pushback than I would get if I were to say the same thing on one of my videos. So all I would say is brace yourself, because based on, again, my interactions with YouTubers who've done Spanish-speaking videos, you're going to get pushback for being an atheist. But as Hitchens said, never be a spectator of unfairness or stupidity. Seek out argument and disputation. For their own sake, I'm reading it off the wall. The grave will supply plenty of time for silence. If you've got something to say, you should damn well say it. You'll have my full support, and I'll be following your efforts with great interest. And that takes us to 90 minutes. This has been the Coronavirus Lockdown Livestream. I do hope you've enjoyed it. It's been fascinating for me to do something this spontaneous. I've enjoyed having some friends with me on the live stream. Certainly made the time go by more quickly, having Sasha and Kim and Xavier with me. Hopefully they'll be with me again in future live streams, maybe even tomorrow. We shall see. This is, after all, a daily-ish live stream. I will hopefully be back tomorrow morning or tomorrow at the same time. I don't know whether it's going to be morning or evening where you are. But don't hate me if for any reason I'm not. It's just something I'm going to try and do. If I succeed, great. If I don't, I'll try again the next day. But I hope you have enjoyed the Coronavirus Lockdown live stream. And I look forward very much to seeing you in the comments at future live streams. If you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you for watching.